What's up, y'all? You are listening to For the Artists, a podcast brought to you by Creative M Projects. I'm your host, Melissa Cherie.
And I am your co-host, Mr. Eric Seats.
Yes, we got another feature. And you know what? We should have told our feature about the hats, but we didn't even know. Like, it just happens that way. We just in alignment.
We don't talk about it.
We don't talk about it. Okay, happens. I'm gonna have my glasses on next week unless I get my new contacts.
And now he's joined the party.
Yes. All right, y'all. So let me tell you about this dope feature that we have coming on. His name is Thomas Warren Jr. And yes, I know him personally, and I can say that I'm honored to know him. He emerges from the shadows of the gospel industry to take his place as a solo artist. As a veteran member of Hezekiah Walker's Love Fellowship Crusade Choir, he leverages more than 25 years of industry experience. And I know he looks like he's only like 26. So you know what? He started at 1. But anyway.
Started at 1.
Right. He provided support vocals to the likes of Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, Luther Vandross, Justin Timberlake, Fred Hammond, and BB Winans, and that's just to name a few. Thomas has a new single out, y'all. It's called Expected End. I like that title. We have to get into that. It's now available on the major digital platforms. The self-penned affirmation explains God's intention for his people to reach their destiny. Sounds like a theme song for Creative M Projects. Okay, this single comes in advance of his debut full-length release entitled Brand New, which is set to release this fall. And we're in the fall, so we're gonna have to get the nitty-gritty on the dates for that. There's no doubt that this gospel music audiences will experience the passion and love for gospel from this new artist. Thomas intends to reach beyond the walls of the church and deliver his music and message to hearts around the world. Welcome, Thomas. Now take your thing off mute, brother.
Hey.
Yes, sir. Welcome, soldier. Welcome.
Thank you again for having me. I appreciate you guys.
Again, thank you for saying yes. Hey, I like how you say, hey, you can tell he's on the East Coast, can't you, by the way? He said, hey, because we don't say it like that on the West Coast.
How y'all say it?
Hey, I don't know. It's like a little too bright or something.
Don't even worry about it, soldier.
Oh, my gosh. But anyway.
Thanks for being here, man.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Let's get right into it. My first question is, boom, why gospel? I mean, you could have been singing all kinds of stuff. Let's just ask that off the top.
I know. So, it just wasn't believable. It wasn't authentic for me to do other things. I even tried a few times, and it wouldn't work for me. So I had to do gospel. That's the essence of who I am. And please forgive me. I just finished up a rehearsal, so you may hear some background noise a bit. But yeah, gospel is who I am. I feel like though the way that I'm going to do it is probably with an R&B slant than anything else. So gospel's me, man.
Okay.
And why do we always have to decide or choose? I'm leaving doing it all because it's. Well, hey, that's not anything to him, but of course, because you're supposed to, I'm sure it comes the most natural to you, Thomas, you know what I'm saying? It's the but I'm sorry. Maybe that wasn't
actually, it's no slant to me at all because I totally get it. Like there've been seasons in my life, like the one I'm currently in, where the only thing that comes out of me is R&B. Wow. There have been other seasons in my life where I could not get out of the mode of singing very jazz-fused songs and melodies. So to your point, as musicians, I think we have to afford ourselves the liberty to be what we need to be in season. I can't say that the sound that you get from me now or the lyrics that you get from me now will only be what I deliver. I think I'm growing and evolving, and to your point, there may be other choices that I make down the line. So yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we need to be authentic at any point. Yeah.
But you come from such great legacy, man. When I lived in New York, shout out to Gerald Hayward, awesome drummer. Gerald used to come and pick myself and Rapture up for service. And just to see how service was it sounded like the record, Melissa, every Sunday.
Every week.
And it's just, so I know where you come from, man. And
so we were taught like you practice in rehearsal what you deliver on Sunday. And if
Correct.
you didn't deliver it in rehearsal, then you shouldn't be like trying to create it live.
You didn't get to do it Sunday if it wasn't right in rehearsal.
Right. Right. Exactly.
I'm glad that's what the church does. It's the best school I've ever been to. It's in my musicianship talk, you know.
And it really toughens you up, right? You develop a discipline that I think is missed from some of the other styles of music, you know.
Correct.
It really makes you attuned to what needs to happen to make the service go over all the time. So you develop a discipline. And
another thing that comes from that is the consistency, the weekly, and being able to chisel away at your art and your craft. And so even true. Actually multiple times during the week, if it depends on who your parents are. So we have more time to spend on our instruments and even at your vocal instrument as well. All instruments, you know, included.
Very true, because there's a callus that you develop, and I don't know what else to call it, but there's a callus to the voice where you know its limits just immediately. You're very, very attuned to your voice range and what's going to happen in certain songs and what you need to do to deliver. And you can sing longer because you've practiced so much over a week, over any given period of time. Yeah.
It's training, right?
It's training.
Dang, this conversation is already taking me so many places in my mind, in my soul, and in my spirit.
Let's go.
Because, I mean, I miss so much. It's like we grew up in the choir, and like you're saying, like we every week, you know what I mean? And I didn't really look at, obviously back then I didn't look at it as, oh, I'm going to rehearsal in like a rehearsal sense. Like I knew I was going to choir rehearsal, but I don't know. It just seems like nowadays, and maybe West Coast and East Coast might be a little different. It just seems like we don't have that. Like that's missing. It's like a new generation has come on board, especially with like the praise and the worship band. It's just like the method and the flow. It's just like so different.
It's very different.
It's a new convenience, Melissa. So here's what I always say. I'm glad I grew up when I did. I don't envy the children today. We had the authenticity of it. Go ahead, Thomas.
No, I fully agree with what you both are saying. I feel like we can fall into the regimen of now without the discipline of then, and it's not good. There's not the same fervor, there's not the same consistency, and we feel like because we can sing, we got it. But there's a discipline behind when you got to Sunday. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be slighted. You know what I mean? Like we've moved away from it a bit. And a lot of the music has lost some of its fervor and its technicality and its meaning. It just all starts to sound alike. And no different than a lot of other secular genres where we're seeing people kind of mimic one another's style. And there was so much when I was coming up, so much variation and so much depth. You could listen to Shirley Caesar, or you can listen to Vanessa Bell Armstrong, or you would hear the Clark sisters, and you knew signature sounds.
Distinctions.
There was so much distinction. And I think now, and this isn't to slight anyone doing anything right now, because he's the new kid on the block, right? So I come to here with no agenda. This is just my observation that there is still a need for that where we need to be able to create a sound that creates differentiation and has the discipline behind it. Yeah.
I like what he just said. I'm an advocate. I'd rather not complain about what's not happening unless I'm contributing to I have to be the option. If I'm not the option and I'm not available and I don't exist, I should probably be quiet.
Absolutely.
So I'm a firm believer of talk is cheap and seen is believing. So if you don't like something, do something about it physically, not just verbally. That's what a lot of us have that issue today. And so I promote I love what I do, and I'm going to project that no matter what. I don't look for permission, validation.
Absolutely.
We need labels or anything like. No, we don't. You need you need ambition.
And you need time. And you need
Yeah.
time. I feel like a lot of us come out of the gate with okay, I can do this. And I'm telling you, there's some singers out here and some musicians out here that have the chops, like wherever they got them from, God bless them. But but you also need to dedicate discipline to your craft, and that takes time. Just because you can do it and do it well doesn't mean that you're ready, right? And I've seen great singers and great musicians miss out on great opportunities because they didn't have the discipline, they didn't have the time spent to really understand how to present themselves, and it went the other way. You see people taking gigs for granted, and they don't show up on time, and it lasts to the thing, and they come with this grandiose demeanor, and it goes the other way for them. People don't want to be bothered with you because you're not reliable. You have no integrity. So I feel like all of that is a lost art. Melissa, to your point, we spent weeks in rehearsal. Like, you didn't sing that song because you learned it last week. No, we've been singing this in rehearsal for at least 2 or 3 weeks,
right?
For 2 or 3 hours a week, and now everybody's thanking God because the wonderful. We had great church today. The choir was wonderful. Yeah, because we was rehearsing for a month before you got this. So I think it's missed. And again, I don't want to. This isn't me to kind of rain on anyone's parade. I celebrate you as long as you doing your thing, but I also feel like we also need to advocate for the maturity of what this is, and we got to do more of that.
Yes. This goes back to the beginning, the opening question about why gospel, right? Because it's almost like with gospel, when you talk about your authenticity, it's really about the message. It could go with any sound. You know what I mean? We just happen to categorize gospel into a particular type of sound, but it doesn't mean that gospel has to all have the same sound. It just has to carry the same message.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right.
It is the message. And if you look at the charts right now, Melissa, you will not believe what gospel sounds like, right? Because it doesn't sound like what we're used to in the traditional sense, right? And if I'm not mistaken, the last time I looked, Kanye was like on the charts 1 through 3,000, like all.
I think I saw that. There was a meme and people was like, why you mad though? You could have did it.
Absolutely. Yep. So to your point, it don't say that. Who would have imagined, right? That's not the sound that you think.
In our little PR mindsets can't even conceive what God allows us to do. So imagine us trying to limit him in music. Again, we put so many limits on his message that's our problem as being, that's our flesh being in the way of, that categorizing thing. That's only to make one feel safe in their limitations, right? I've always felt like, man, I appreciate so many different genres of music, and even those that I haven't explored into yet, you have to consider everything, that the quality of it you should be able to hear. So just like a message, the message should be way more powerful than if you're attracted to a beat, good luck in life, Good luck
in life. I'm going to quote you, Seats. I'm going to quote you.
Hey, Thomas,
it's real true.
What was the jump off for you? What was your first project that built your confidence up, that made you see and say, if that's possible, what's next? What else can I do?
It was actually one of the worst sessions I had ever had to date.
Wow.
I was in. Can I tell a story? I was in a session with BB Winans, and I want to remind him of this when I see him. And I was one of the singers. There were 6 of us who had stayed back to do more work. And the session started 8:30, 9 o'clock. By the time we got to the 6-person ensemble, it was like 11:30 at night, and your boy's voice was toast. And so now we have to sing. So what they wanted to do was have this ensemble sing the reference, so they would mix against our sound. And I was at that mic, and when we got to that last set of Oh Happy Days, it was a wrap. Like, it was a wrap. There was no more in me. And to the point where Baby was like, do you need some water? What do you need? And I stepped out to get some water. I came back, and it was worse, right? So now BB has to come out of the sound room, take my place at the mic, and sing my part, right? And it was the joke for the night. Everyone understood, of course, because now we're close to midnight, and it was not good. But I realized I wasn't ready for the next level, and that I had to hone my craft a lot more, and I needed to learn how to sing. And at that point, I had been singing for over 20 years, but I realized, okay, no, I now need to learn the craft of singing, not standing behind 50 other voices and knowing it that way. And that was a jump off. That was me saying, okay, if you're going to do this, you're going to do it seriously, whether it's a session vocalist, whether it's a lead vocalist, you got to hone your stuff. And I hit it and haven't looked back.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very embarrassing moment. We laugh about it to this day. I can't wait to chop it up with BB about it. I wonder if he remembers it.
He probably does remember that.
No, he remembers it.
But
I know
those are the things that build our character. And that, the realization wouldn't have came had you not respected that scenario so much, that I have those same stories. I have a ton of them. And I love how there's no finale or finish line in this creativity. It's just, there's another graduation to happen.
Absolutely.
And as long as we're living, none of us have this figured out.
Nope.
And good, if you do, then wow, I'm impressed.
Good for you.
Yeah. Send it to us.
Yeah, but we're still, I like that we're still becoming, and I like to take the limits off of, who we think we are when we arrive, because you never do. We're always still evolving. Like, to your point, there's no finale for us. I like that.
Yeah, and it's crazy how there's nothing new under the sun. So whatever we're thinking about is already been executed.
Yes.
Probably just wasn't popular or exposed a lot.
You're up. It's just your turn.
And it's important to keep growing. Hey, let me ask you this: what do you see yourself doing in the future? What's another goal for you?
So my next goal is this next project. So to Melissa's intro, I did release the single Expected In, and then I released the project Brand New, which is the full length project. And that project was done over a period of like 10 to 12 years. And I just kept making music and fine tuning what I had to offer. And you have this project called Brand New. It was called Long Time Coming at one point. It was called the final iteration, Brand New. And it was released late summer or midsummer. And then I was like, well, I can't stop, right? I'm not going to take 12 years to make another one. So the next thing was, okay, let's start working. And I knew what the next project was going to be called. So we started working on it. And that really has my full attention. I think I'm learning the business side of this industry. I don't like it, but I have to, if you say you're going to be a commercial artist and you want commercial viability, you got to play by their rules. And so I'm trying to understand where I fit in that space. And so I think what's next for me is kind of learning the business side more and figure out how to get my music to a larger mass of people, and what concessions I have to make or think about making to do that. Because unfortunately, artistry is one thing, but when you want to be a commercial success, it's a whole nother thing. And you got to kind of figure out where you fit. Now, some of us will determine it. I don't want to do all of that. I'm probably one of those people. So I just got to figure out where that lane is for me and get happy there. There is a lane.
There is a lane.
There's a lane for you.
And there's no. I love the freedom that we have in this capacity, because you can determine that for yourself, and then once you just settle in what it is that's the pros and cons that we outweigh, then you can thank God for options and freedom of choice. So we can
absolutely.
And I'm cautious of being careful what we wish for too.
I'm a big proponent of. All right, before I say that this is my goal, that I have considered the cost, and that I thought about what it's going to take, what level of sacrifice. I've made a lot of concessions to get where I am, and I knew that I would need to make them. And I like being able to make the choices versus someone saying, okay, you got to do this, you got to do that. And I've watched some of my friends in the industry just have that challenge. They feel like, I want to make great music, and they're under deadlines, and they're under all of these contracts, and they feel like my hands are tied. I'm like, I don't think I ever want that, you know. But I also realized why they did it, because there were things that they wanted that were attached to those choices. And so, you know, I get it. But
I love that you just talked about counting the cost, because that is, you know, that's something that's something in scriptures that I didn't really pay attention to until I had something pretty devastating happen, you know, in my personal life. And I thought about it. I was like, wow, I really did not count the cost before I made that decision, before I made that yes. And so now, even for the smallest things, I do that. I'm like, okay, what is the cost associated with me saying yes to this? What's the time? What's the money? Because, you know, I think a lot of times we skip that step. We don't do it from the excitement of, I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. And then you jump in and you're like, oh, shoot, I said yes, but I don't even know if I can make this happen.
Melissa, I didn't say, oh, shoot. I used the other one.
That's the most natural one.
The natural one, right. Because it does become costly. And I think, to your point, it's sometimes it's not even the financial cost. Sometimes it's the time and the investment of my personal space or my peace or whatever that is. And I'm just like, dang, I wish I would have thought about that before. Now I'm knee deep in, and I got to finish because my name and word is on it, right?
Right.
So now I'm like, yeah, let me think a few times before I jump head in on some stuff.
You know what? Two comments to keeping us encouraged. We can't predict those things, and thank God, you know, the trial and error. You know, and thank God that He watches over us. So we might call them bad decisions or, you know, bad experiences, but a lot of those things, I'm glad I heard a few no's.
That's true.
When I look back, I'm appreciative of the few no's that if we're going to call them a no, I thank God it was a no as opposed to a yes. When I was at the, you know, wisdom.
That's exactly it. That's
right?
exactly what it is. It becomes a moment of wisdom. And I agree with you. I think I don't view those as bad instances. I actually view them as that made me wiser. Now I know better. And to your point, I think I'm learning the power of no, not just the ones that I have to receive, but owning that power myself. I get to say no.
Right.
I get to say, oh, okay. Like I don't just have to wait for somebody else to close that door. I can close some of these doors myself and say that's not for me. And that came through some tough times where I realized in hindsight, you know, some of my choices put me in that predicament, and now I need to be wiser. So now I say no a lot now. A lot.
Yeah.
Two questions came to me while you were talking. The first is, you talked about the business side of being an artist, and you don't like it. So my question is, what is it specifically that you don't like about it?
That's good. I think the industry is trying to catch up with itself, right? So right now, the music industry has moved beyond the music industry. The act of consumption, the act of production has really, really moved at a rapid pace. People are doing more content, doing less content more frequently. People are doing more to engage their audience on a regular basis. Back in the day, you wouldn't put out nearly as much content as is being put out today. And the music industry has not realized how to capitalize on that anymore. And so what they've done is they've created inroads into places that they actually shouldn't be, into royalties that they should have never had. And so that as an action makes me go, oh, right. And so before, when I first started, it was like, oh, you make a good project and you shop it to these labels, and then they say, okay, yeah, we want to sign you. And now we've got the ability to sign ourselves, but we miss the services and resources that these labels did provide for us at one time. So it is the yin and the yang of this, right? The record labels are failing from a capital perspective, but then the artists are trying to become commercial without the services and resources that the labels had. And so you have to learn how to be a one-stop shop, or at least have your arms in many different places, where before you can be an artist and hand your stuff over to someone and they go out and make you a success, so to speak, and in turn make them some money. So it is learning all of this. And I'm just like, dang it, maybe I just want to sing at church. Maybe I want to sing in a lounge. Maybe I want to be the type of artist that you see every now and again. Like, I don't know what I'm trying to figure it out.
Yep.
I would like to encourage you, young man, that you have the resource, especially over all this time and your accomplishments and successes. You have met everybody you need. And we still all need each other. I don't care what they try to make it look like, because I come from team players. I like playing with a team. It's easier. I can contribute it's like trying to win a all-star game by yourself.
By yourself.
That's called the dunk contest. You know what I mean? You're not gonna win the game by yourself, Playboy. So when you understand everything, it has compartments, and there's an advertising genius over here, and there's a I and glam squad and things. And when you're a coordinator, because we eventually just have to become what we know works. So I'm learning, because I'm talking to myself right now. Don't ever think.
No, you actually. You sharing with me too, bro.
What I'm
talking to all of us.
And now I'm like, we're capable of finding anything, and there's a tutorial about everything. It's hard to fail today.
It really is.
You would have to try to fail. So
I still don't. But for the record, though, and I fully agree with you. But for the record, I don't like it. Like
I know. What I want to tell, because you can control it, and we need people with your spirit to get in the game. Here's the alternative called Thomas Warren Jr. Or here's the alternative, Eric Seats. And I bet you there's a plethora, a whole world of people that totally get what you do, and eventually we just create teams. I'm trying to build the biggest army I can right now. That's why I try to work with as many people as possible, because the more people celebrating the same thing, that's the win. When y'all can celebrate together, it's hard to celebrate alone. But we're coming up in a dynamic to where we're trying to facilitate every facet of these arenas alone. But there's something about, like, I love this podcast for bringing us together, because these are the liaisons and the bridges that we need to connect further in our art, to say that person is serious. Because nobody we've never interviewed nobody that wasn't serious about what they do. And I don't believe anybody would have showed up on her platform, had they think that she's not serious about her approach. And so we need to, I'm tough on her too. I'm like, everybody you need has been a guest on your show. So you have like, we can get the thing done, whatever our dream is.
Yeah, it's true. I believe that we're connected further than we actually realize. And so I started really thinking about, okay, sometimes I'm smoking cigars with the person I actually should be learning from. So I'm thinking about, no, what is the real reason why we've been linked together? And I also feel like just because it's being done in this way doesn't mean I have to do it this way. So I always try to press myself to kind of think and challenge the status quo. So what can we do? What can I do next? And then the last thing is I don't have the business budget that others have. So also trying to scale down what is my reality, or what things to my reality. I think that's but that's the biggest challenge at this point. That's the only thing I don't like. Everything else seems, I can deal with some of the other stuff in the industry, but it's just a model change. That's crazy for me.
Okay. And the other part of that was like two questions. 'Cause the other one, you talked about commercial success. And so I wanted you to share with us your definition of what is that commercial success you're looking for? Is that like number of people that are streaming your stuff? I mean, like, you obviously have an idea because you want that. So what does that look like for you?
So I think the metrics for personal success and commercial success are different. And I think I came to the industry personally successful. I came to the industry, though, to offer music in the paradigm of consumption that they've created. So commercial success for me then is a look at some of the metrics that make that world tick. And I'm ascribing to some of those. I do want music that charts. I do want my peers to know who I am and respect who I am. I do want to take my music across countries. I do want to share multiple records with this industry, and I want them to know my brand and consume my brand. So those are the areas of success that I'm aiming towards. I don't need the whole wide world to consume what I do. If they want it, they can have it. But I'm interested in finding those people who like what I do and surfacing them to this brand. I think that's commercial success to me. I don't have standards of dollars. I don't have the millions of albums sold. That's not in my mind in that way. But I do realize, and that it used to frustrate me, like, well, how do you come to the industry and get mad at the industry for being the industry? You can't do that. Like, you could have released your music as you would. But when you came here expecting us to receive it commercially, well, then it has to ascribe to some standard. Like, you can't just put a metronome and you sing against a metronome and think everyone's going to buy it. No, it's not commercially viable. It is artistic, but it's not commercially viable. So I've approached this with some sense of, okay, T, like, make a decision, where are your goals, and don't let it kill you, right? I've seen people like go crazy over, I didn't sell 1 million or I didn't sell 10. I mean, yeah, it is what it is.
It sounds like the approach was initially wrong, because if you do things for that, that's almost self-sabotage. And I bet you the people that have been the most successful didn't press record with those intentions.
Right.
But I believe that a lot of generations that come after see what those innocent thoughts have been able to provide.
Yes.
And then they got distracted about saying, because we never hear about what they donated to charities.
Absolutely.
We can read about what they just bought as far as, acres and things like that. And so our distractions, and so we're saturated with distractions. And even our videos they're not, they're setting people up to have this fictitious thing. And so it just goes back to this. I always say, because I'm going to do a track as soon as we get off of here. And I bet you I do not care. Just like the things that they end up knowing about, they didn't leave my heart with me knowing that was about to do what it did. So I need to keep doing that. But you don't let that define why you do it.
Absolutely. You work from the purest place, I think. And that to me is artistry. And that goes back to what I was saying before. It's this business piece that requires your thought and your planning. I think if you are genuinely concerned about making authentic music that someone's going to admire or that you love, you've won already. But when you decide that I want to make business and profit and revenue and all these type things that are business terms in this industry, you then have to start ascribing to the norms of the industry. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to assess the cost. Some of this may not be for you, and you have to realize that. I agree. There's music I've made that never made it never made it out. There's mixtapes that never made that was never intended. I put it in places where you have to just go download it. It's free. Like, just go take it.
See,
you know what I mean?
That's what it's about. That's the medicine that music provides. Music will find its own audience without your promotion.
Absolutely will.
I have my playlist probably consists of more people that I have not ever, that are not commercially successful, but they found their way into my heart. And then you learn more. So I love when it leaves, and however it leaves, whatever avenue it leaves from, when it leaves from here pure. What's funny is be cautious of immediate validation. Some songs you can, I'm sure you have this testimony as a producer and a writer. Some songs that people hear that made it to radio, by the time they heard it, it was 5-6 years old. Right? It wasn't immediately validated, but that doesn't mean that it won't ever see the light of day, quote unquote. But I believe that when we put it out into the universe and allow it to exist and allow it to be reachable and tangible, we did our part. We shouldn't have to monitor. I don't monitor. I'm glad I don't care about monitoring how many people saw or heard this, because I don't want to get caught up in those numbers and things like that. That's another area that I'm really fearful of, because I don't want to taint my spirit.
Yeah,
I agree. I'm conscious of where I'm operating from, and some of it is spiritual. So I know I want God to get the glory from what I do.
Correct.
But I'm human too, and there is a level of appreciation and gratification that you want for what you're contributing.
Correct.
But I don't want that to be the motivator. That can be the starting point, right? So it's like when you go to school, you're learning, right? And you get a good grade, but you don't get the grade until after you supposedly learn the stuff. That's how it is for me. Like I need to approach this from the position of what I can give and what I can learn, and then all of the other stuff will come afterward.
Correct.
Yeah.
I just appreciate the clarity with which you are articulating a lot of these things, because it's so helpful. You know what I mean? The fact that you're very clear on, you were personally successful before you started moving in some other ways to be commercially successful, and how it's clear in your mind that those are very different definitions. And so, I mean, we're not talking our ages on here or anything like that. But it's like, I'm sure that you have evolved into that place of clarity that just hasn't always been there for you, right? So, I mean, talk about that, because that's so key. It's so important. Yeah,
it is. It really is, Melissa. I think I don't think you should be. This is my opinion. I don't think you should be before people in the way of delivering what you have until you are confident in who you are. And I teach my children this. I teach as many people as will hear. If you don't know who you are, there's no way that you will be able to deliver to someone else, because, again, to what you were saying, Seats, if they don't appreciate it, then it comes back to you in a poor way, and it makes you question. But if you know who you are, then what comes out of you is good. It does not matter. And I've had some instances with self-doubt and just identifying with who I was, and I've had to recondition my own self. Like, what are you in this for? Not just in music, but in life. Like, I've had some moments where I was like, wait a minute, who am I? I didn't mean to do that. That's not who I am. That's coming from someplace inside me I need to address, because that is not who I am. I've had those introspective moments. It is not easy, and I am not young. I'm the closest to 90 I've ever been. And I have had to take these moments and say, Thomas, who are you? And what do you want the world to get from you? There's stuff that I don't ever want people to know is in me. And then there's stuff that you absolutely need to know. I just feel like we're evolving, and I want us to get close to that. That's why Brand New as a title for my last project was so important, because you can be new at any time. You do not have to wait for an anniversary, a new year, a birthday, a milestone at all. You can decide, today I'm going to change this facet of my life, and I'm going to be new. And it starts as soon as you make that decision. And you can evolve at any point, and we need to do that. We have been conditioned. I'm going to start my diet at the start of this year, or I'm going to, on my 50th birthday, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. You don't have the luxury of time in many instances. So why not do it now? Why not be new now? And that's the phase I'm in right now.
Awesome.
How did you get there, though? Like, what do you attribute that to in terms of the confidence of knowing who you are and being able to come to a place of knowing who you are and flowing out of that? Like, was that a combination of different people, circumstances?
I think there have been a lot of circumstances. So life is the best teacher. And you can hear from someone else, but when life teaches you a lesson, you never forget.
Correct.
And I think I've had to learn myself through a lot of circumstances, me in life. And a lot of what I learned, I didn't like. So I had to figure it I had to figure it out. There were moments where I was, Thomas, you're very selfish and self-centered. And what does that look like? And how are you self-centered and selfish, but you give to every charity in the book? Right. So you there's not balance. You know what I mean? So where is that? Where does it come from? And there were times that I'm in the church all the time. So I'm standing and I'm declaring who God is and what he's done, and all these wonderful things about God. And you go home, you're like, and who are you? You know what I mean? So if you can't, know who you are, know your value, know your worth, know the integrity that you're going to walk in, know the things that make you different and unique and make you special, and know the things that you need to improve upon, then you're going to miss the mark. I spend a lot of time fixing me up. I do. A lot of time. Yeah.
Aren't we all a work in progress?
In progress.
Ain't that the truth?
As long as we're on this side of the land of the living, there is another graduation to be had. And
absolutely,
I pray for wisdom. I truly do. And we ain't done our best work yet.
No,
we sure haven't.
Yeah, and so that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
That is what we do. Okay, so this brand new project, everything's written. Or like, what stage are you in with this? Everything's written and recorded, or what?
It's out. So my apologies to you for giving you my pre-release bio. But it is out. It is fully out. It's available on all major digital platforms. It came out in the summer, and it's there. And I'm so happy with it. It's really funny because you write this music and you're like, oh, they're gonna love this. Mm-hmm. They didn't love it. They loved the song. They loved the song that I had no idea anyone would love. And
hey,
I'm like, okay, wow,
Thomas,
it's like crazy.
That is always how it works.
Is it?
The stuff we spend the most time on gets the least attention, and the things that we did in 2 seconds, it ends up being this thing.
Why didn't you call me and tell me this before I spent so much time on the other stuff?
It's almost like what you want them to know, they don't. It's like whatever.
What you are saying is so true, man. Like I did the song that was the standout song on the project. Mm-hmm. Was the song that I literally wrote on the train on the way to the session.
Wow.
Like it literally took no time. I did it. We cut the song. It was done in one set. I've labored on songs on this record for weeks. Mm-hmm. This song was done in the shortest amount of time, and it is the standout. Everyone loves it. I'm like, what?
Of course it is. Of course it is.
It's crazy.
Get used to it, brother.
Bro, I'm taking this wisdom on to the next.
I used to have my heart on my sleeve and stuff like that, but I'm like, oh, okay, whatever works.
Jeez, whatever it is, right? But I guess it teaches you like just let it be.
Let it go.
Let them love it how they love it. Let them receive it and perceive it how they receive it. Don't control it.
God.
And that's just what's popping right now. Give it a minute, because there'll be another season and then people will be loving a different song.
Yeah, that's true. You know? That is so true.
Yeah.
I hope so. I really hope them. I hope they love something else, because the song that everyone.
I bet you shouldn't even worry about it. You should just move on to the next thing.
I'm so moving on.
Don't ever consider what's already out.
Yeah.
So I actually started. So we actually start in 3 weeks on the next project.
Right on.
And you guys, I hope to be able to send you some stuff so you can hear and give me your opinions on.
You just gotta come. You don't need our opinions, but you do have to come back and promote it.
Oh, I'll
definitely come back and promote it. But shoot, I want to hear a sneak peek. So yeah, send it to me. Send it.
I will send it. I will actually. I love hearing feedback from good people.
Right.
This is what I was gonna say though. Okay, so I mean, I know things are different because of the pandemic. However, I mean, are you planning to like get out there and tour your stuff? I mean, what's going on?
I'm just saying, like, is anybody doing anything? Like, no, seriously, I was able. This summer, I had like a few things that I was able to get out in front of people with. That was my first time with this music, and so it felt really good. Mm-hmm. Felt really weird at the same time. Because it's post-pandemic and people are like so excited to move, but there's not a whole lot going on. But I had like maybe 2 or 3 appearances, and I'm looking forward to more. I'm also looking forward to creating my own spaces for people to come to, and trying to think about some unique, like not always doing it at the concert down the street, but what are other things that people want to do that music aligns to, and making that a moment. So that's
a wonderful transition comment for a question that popped up while you were talking, because I went back to your statement about how you want to go beyond the walls of the church, right? So then my thought was, okay, so what are your plans or ideas or thoughts around taking this music outside of the church? Like, what does that look like for you in terms of, physical spaces or whatever?
If you listen to the project, it's not Sunday morning at all. It's not praise and worship. It's not choir music. I consider myself Friday Night Funky, or like Saturday Night Special. I'm what you listen to when you're getting ready to go do something, or when you're washing your car, or doing your laundry, or chilling with the boys, or like I'm that type of space. So it actually fits better in lounges and supper clubs and live stages and things of that nature. So yes, there are plans to do
broader audience.
Broader audience. But I also, so the other thing is I don't feel like everybody with a soul comes to church. All of us have one. So why wait for them to come to me? I need to go find out where they are and take my music to them. And it needs to sound like stuff that they would like to hear. So
I like the way you think.
That's my premise. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm on my way. So I'm going to tell you that, please. Now, Melissa, you came to some stuff I haven't been to on the West Coast in a minute. But when I come, I want y'all to come through and
I'm going to come through. You just got to let me know.
I will let you know. It'll be real soon.
You still in New York?
I'm still in New York. It's got me for another 3 years. But I'm almost ready to move someplace else.
Right on.
Yeah, hear ye, Lord, hear ye.
I left the West Coast and I'm over here on the East Coast too now, Soldier.
Oh, you are? Where are you?
Philly.
Oh, okay. That's down the street.
Are you trying to stay East Coast though, Thomas? Even though you're getting out of New York, are you trying to come west?
No, not west. I'm gonna go to. I'll probably be in the DMV area.
Okay.
I like how I feel there, how I fit there. Yeah, so I see myself there.
You can do a lot there.
Yeah.
They keep music alive too.
Yes.
Shout out to DC. Shout out to DMV.
DMV, yes.
DMV, shout out.
I mean, y'all gonna get a go-go song out of me in a minute.
There's room, Soldier. There's room.
It is.
And especially now that you announced it to the world.
Yeah, it's out there.
It's coming.
So it's coming to be. It's coming to be. Man, what else we got? Seeds, what else we got for Thomas? By way of questions.
She just threw me out there, didn't she?
I did. Because I could do that.
No, let me ask y'all a question. What have been some of the most inspiring moments for you? You got this podcast. You've seen a lot of people come through. Like, how has this inspired what you do creatively?
Go ahead, Melissa. Ladies first.
Ladies first. Oh my gosh. Basically, it's kind of alluding to what Seats was talking about earlier when he was, talking about kind of like keeping me accountable, because it's like every week, I'm reminded that there really is no reason why I should not be completing the things that are on my heart to do.
Yes.
And I'm not going to say I use the organization as an excuse, but I have definitely prioritized what I'm doing with the organization. And I just have not felt okay yet pulling away from what I'm pouring into with the org.
Got it.
To, shift that main priority into some of the other creative things that I've been doing. But I'm literally, I'm inspired like every week. Every week, my eyes are opened to something new. Something resonates with me.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, it's been good. It's been good.
Good. See?
And for myself, I love this. It inspires me. I look forward to these because some of the guests I know that I bring, and then like you, Thomas, from Melissa, but nobody is. It's an immediate trust because I've known her for so long. That and I know how serious she is about this. That it's the reason why I'm here. So and little things like even aspiring to get dressed and it's subtle, but it's really cool to me because I know that this is beyond us two. And then and everybody that ends up here, we're all contributing right back to the very things that have invested into us and poured into our lives and allowed us to become better adults. So it feels it's a good. I can rest well knowing that we do this. And so anything that makes me feel that, the older I get, anything that makes me feel good about something and, and even just meeting people and then potentially work. We have to do some work, Soldier, together.
Oh, you ready? Are you ready?
Well, that's the reason why we're meeting.
Absolutely.
And if we don't see it for what it is, then we could keep trying to postpone and procrastinate off we want to, but we're all we need. And so I'm a firm believer in I'm cautious of the words that I use and things like that. So this really this is another form of growth for me. It allows me to it's a platform to express the things that I'm thinking, but have nowhere else to talk like this. Otherwise, it's like, what's he talking about? Right.
It's breakfast time.
Right. So that's what it is for me in a nutshell.
I think we are multifaceted. And I've discovered this about us, that we have unfortunately been groomed to think that we can only be one thing. And that is so wrong. And so to hear that you guys are doing this and that and being inspired by this for that, that's exactly right. That's how we should be.
We don't hear enough of the cliche, don't put all your eggs in one basket anymore. No. But any cliche is short and sweet and very much so effective and will never go out of style. They all are still relevant. And so, talk is cheap, seen as believing, all these different things. They're short and sweet, but they're all like just the best facts we need.
Yeah.
Yep. So
multifaceted. Here's another thing related to the podcast. So obviously we had an intention in terms of a target audience that we're gonna, that we speak to every week. But what has really just filled my cup, like I have people that listen every week and they text me, and these are people that I would not have expected to listen and get something out of it, because I'm like, you're living your life, like you're you're doing you, and they're moved by the podcast every week and keep listening. Right. So it's like, I love that, because we may have an audience in mind, and this even relates to what we're talking about in terms of music. We might have an audience in mind, but we can't limit ourselves because we don't know the audiences that we're going to reach, as long as we just stay true and keep believing in what we're doing and just keep showing up 100.
Yep. And giving yourself to that. Yep.
We should never try to determine who our audience is, because that's not godly. He's going to reach whoever he feels like reaching.
Absolutely.
And we have to erase what we think should happen, and just like she said, just be. Therefore, then you can be introduced into another facet that we didn't even know anything about. But our target, and a lot of times the people that we target don't even like it. So that should be more inspiration, not to have an audience in mind, because we limit art like that.
When I first released a single, was Good Love. No, I'm sorry, it was my EP, and I was like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And nobody here was like loving on it. It was all right. I promise you, they were ordering it in Amsterdam and Japan and China, and I was making more of an impression in other countries than I was here. And that, to your point, takes the limits off of who is it supposed to be for. No, it's supposed to be for the person who wants it. It is what it is.
You know what I've noticed? People will not respect it until they hear about it third party.
Until somebody else has loved it, and then they're like, really? Yeah.
That they don't know.
Yes.
And then the comments after that are, we grew up together. Or it's
so true, man.
That's why I just, that's why we just work without
expectations, right?
You just got to work without expectations, and it's not our concern who gravitates to it. I think we overprocess things when we start doing too much like that.
I've tried. I am that person who you just described. I'm in my head. I'm like analytical. I'm a business guy by trade, and so, but it stifles you, and so I have to be. Again, it goes back to this business thing where I'm like, I would prefer just to be the guy who's creating in this space, right? But then you have to shut one thing off to shut another thing off. But I agree with you. Like sometimes we just need to be in a place where I'm just going to do what's in me. Thank you, Lord, for this. I'm going to get this to your people. And when they get it, they get it. How they get it, they get it. When they appreciate it, they appreciate it. And I've taken the limits off. I don't think gospel is going to sound like it does now. It'll evolve to something else in the same way blues and jazz did, became all these other things. I am a student of music to that extent. And I feel like if I limit myself in any capacity, I limit what I can become. So let me just take this stuff off. What is in me now? Download, let's go, then I'll become, and something else will be out of me, But we have to move out of that space where we start putting boundaries on what God wants to do for us and who He's doing it for.
Yeah. Well, y'all, this has been a really good conversation. And we've been talking for like about an hour, I think.
Has it been an hour already?
I believe it has.
My stomach is telling me.
It's dinner time. No, so this is what happens. Like, when you start talking, and it feels like we are literally at a table with drinks and just chilling out and talking. I didn't even realize it's been an hour, but this has been great. I appreciate this.
Oh man, too bad we can't be on the couch singing outside.
Yeah, soon come. Do you remember? But first of all, do you remember? You should have been there. I don't know where this couch came from, but we literally sat on this couch all night long. It was like 8 of us and sang for hours on hours on hours. The cars were honking at us. It was great.
It was great.
That's right.
Oh, good times.
Something I'll never forget. That was like a once in a lifetime, but I want it to happen again. So hopefully it'll be a twice in a lifetime.
Hey, that sounds like a movie scene for real. When you
well, we better write it then. We better write it. All right. So before we go though, Thomas, why don't you go ahead and shout out all the places where people can find you, website, IG, Facebook, like all that good stuff.
Absolutely. I am Thomas Warren Jr. I am Thomas Warren Jr. everywhere. So on IG, Thomas Warren Jr., Facebook, Thomas Warren Jr., www.thomaswarren.jr., Twitter, Thomas Warren Jr. That is me. I'm the 6'4" black guy with the bald head. You can't miss me. Please connect. Let's stay connected. If you're listening, shout me out. Let me know you heard me here. And there'll be more of me here in the future. Thank you guys so much.
Yep, for sure. Whoop, whoop.
Yes, sir.
All right, Seats. Well, we're going to get ready to wrap it up. To everybody that has been listening, we're so glad you joined us. We, of course, love you. Whether we've met you or not, just know that. But you've been listening to For the Artist Say podcast, brought to you by Creative and Projects. I've been your host, Melissa Cherie.
And I've been your co-host, Mr. Eric Seats. And Creative M Projects is a 501c3 tax-exempt organization. So if you would like to donate to this worthy cause, you can do such a thing at creativemprojects.org.
Yes, right? Love it.
Take a look at the tabs. Maneuver.
Take a look at the tabs. You can do all kinds of stuff on the website. You can donate. You can volunteer. You can put a comment. So, check it out. But until next week, when we see y'all for the next recording, keep creating from the inside out.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.